Hi, my name is Angela Mangione, and this is my STEM Capstone lesson. The lesson is entitled Popcorn Anyone. Here, students will discover the relationship between dimension and volume. Students will compare the different volumes for different types of prisms. My modification to the lesson was that I would have students create a prism that holds a specified amount of volume. I didn't specify the amount of volume because I would not have the whole entire class do the same amount of volume. I would break the students up into groups and assign them each their own different size volume. Review the 5 modules. Module 1, what is STEM? Well, STEM is the integration of 4 major concepts: science, technology, engineering, and mathematics. In science, the students would be testing and recording information. Technology, students could use a computer for charting, graphing, and blogging. Engineering, students would be finding a solution to the problem, as they would be required to create their own size and shaped cylinder, integrating, of course, the arts with it, because it can be any design that they want as long as it holds the particular volume. And of course the mathematics, where they would have to calculate, measure, and use formulas to verify. Also in this module, this activity would allow students to be curious. They would be learning innovation. The curriculum provides opportunity for deeper learning, as they would be discovering learning on their own. And emphasis on the development of inquiry and reasoning would be found in this activity. Module 2, what does STEM look like in the classroom? Well, in the classroom, students would be actively involved in the inquiry process. The teacher, myself, would guide and not give information. Students would present and evaluate ideas within their groups. They will have a handout that is somewhat guided for them. That can be found on the lesson page of the Capstone presentation. And also students would be reasoning with the data that they find. Module 3, what are current innovations in STEM? Students are taught that mathematics is a logical progression and is not just a process of memorizing rules. Here they would be testing and coming up with and finding the differences between the volumes of the different size prisms. Students are also taught that there are multiple ways to go about solving a problem. There is no one canned formal way to go about solving this problem. Module 4, where can I find STEM resources? There are many websites full of resources, as we have learned in this course. And teachers can take classes and or attend professional development sessions in order to gain better knowledge of these STEM resources. Module 5, how can I assess STEM skills and practices? We can use online resources such as applets, computerized assessments, observe and listen to reasoning or arguments and the decisions made in the process. In other words, teacher can walk around the room and listen to the groups forming their ways of how they're going to go about solving the problem and finding the differences in the volumes. I could also assess students by having them write journals and or blogs using a rubric. Students could write an essay and talk about their evidence to prove their findings. And of course, I would incorporate a grade on technique, not just the students' outcomes or their answers. In this activity, students are to create 2 different size square prisms and 2 different size cylinders in order to discover a relationship between dimension and volume. Here I've actually taken my different colored paper and created 2 square prisms and 2 cylinders. The activity requires that the students place the taller prism inside the shorter one, and then to fill it with popcorn. Now, students might think that because the pieces of paper that they started with were the same size, that they would in fact hold the same amount of volume. So on the handout that they're given, they would have to come up and determine if they think that the volumes would in fact be the same or not, and then justify their reasonings. Then they go ahead and actually do the experiment. Here we find that clearly the amount of popcorn that was in the taller cylinder, or in this case prism, square prism, is not the same amount of volume that would be left in the shorter prism. The same thing holds true for the cylinders. When you pull the one out, it almost appears as though it's like half, not quite half, a little bit more than half. In this experiment, or this activity, students will find that the taller, more slender prisms hold less volume. Students will also find that in the square prisms that the lengths of the sides are the same, the length and the width. Students will be able to calculate algebraically and find out how much height to reduce the shorter prism so that it holds the same volume as the taller one. One would do this simply by taking the volume of the taller prism and setting it equal to the dimensions for the formula for the volume of the square prism. Students will find that increasing the radius in the cylinder will have greater impact on volume because the radius is squared whereas the height is not. Students will be also asked to compare the two activities and should be able to conclude that the square dimensions of the bases attribute to the difference in the volumes. In my modification, students will be asked to create their own prism that holds, say, for example, 300 cubic inches. Of course, this measure again will vary because I don't plan on giving each group the same volume. They will measure, test, and build their model. Again, their model will be graded based on creativity and the fact that it does in fact hold 300 cubic inches and the methods in which they go about finding, evaluating, testing, and proving their case. Thank you for watching my video. I hope you enjoyed this lesson or this activity as much as I do. Of course, I did not do this with students because of the timeliness of the end of the school year, with our final exams approaching and actually are in progress as we speak. So I look forward to doing this in one of my geometry classes. Hope you enjoyed it. Have a great evening.